It started with $1.58 in Hamburger buns. A man walks into a Dollar General in Columbus, Georgia. He hands the cashier 2 crumpled dollar bills. She starts to straighten them out. A routine, forgettable moment, repeated 1,000 times a day in stores like this one. Then he steps to the side, pulls out a gun, and fires. In seconds, 44-year-old store manager Alexis Hill is dead. Killed by a total stranger over nothing. But the story doesn't end there. The shooter runs, vanishes into the city. For 3 hours, Columbus police search for a man who, unknown to anyone yet, walked out of prison just 1 month earlier, carrying a criminal record 2 decades long. They find him in a parking lot. He doesn't put the gun down. What happens next leaves an officer shot, a police dog fighting for its life, and one question still unanswered. Why?
The beginning of my career, about 5 years ago, I was dispatched out to a call in reference to a domestic dispute, and she happened to be the manager. She was the foundation in someone else's life to help them get the help that they needed to get out of a bad situation.
Here we deliver clear, factual, and up-to-date true crime stories. Subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed on the latest cases and investigations. The incident took place at a Dollar General location on Victory Drive in Columbus, Georgia, a city in Muskogee County in the western part of the state, along the Chattahoochee River bordering Alabama. Dollar General is a discount retail chain with thousands of stores across the United States, many of them operating with small staffs, often only 1 or 2 employees on shift at a time. This staffing model is relevant context. Single-clerk retail environments are widely recognized in retail security literature as having elevated risk during robbery or altercation scenarios, since there is often no second employee present to de-escalate, intervene, or immediately call for help. The victim was identified as Alexis Hill, 44 years old, who worked as the store manager at the Victory Drive location. Hill was a mother of 3 sons and, according to family members, had 2 grandchildren. Relatives said she was in the process of planning a move to Colorado to be closer to her sons and grandchildren. Hill's brother, Jonathan Hill, spoke to local news station WTVM after the incident. He stated that Hill and the man who killed her did not know one another prior to the encounter. They were not related, not romantically involved, and had no prior relationship or dispute. According to Jonathan Hill, the shooting was the result of an interaction with what he described as a random stranger who became confrontational and escalated the encounter to gun violence.
Yes, tell us about who she was as a person.
Okay, as a person, born and raised here, right here in Columbus, just sweet, kind, always willing to go out of her way to help someone and go the extra mile. Yeah. She'd give the shirt off her back if she needed to. She was always helping people, as far as I could see. I went off into the military and retired, and I came back in 2019, and ever since I've been back, she's been busy, busy with the children, busy with the grandchildren, and just helping everyone she could. I think one of the last things she did was, gather some supplies for someone that was in need. And so that was like one of her last, acts of kindness was, even up to the day, was helping someone else. Mm-hmm. And then even at the crime scene, I got, droves of people were coming over and just telling us, how wonderful she was and how helpful she was and how she donated things to charity and everything. So, she can't be replaced. It's just, it's just a loss that, you know, I'm gonna have to deal with, and the family's gonna have to deal with, and we can't replace her. It's just a part of us that's just gonna be gone until, you know, we reunite with her in heaven.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A friend of Hill's, who was also the godmother of one of Hill's children, described her personality to reporters at the scene, calling her someone who was easy to get along with and dedicated to her job.
I really would like to say, well, I will say this right here. She was known by so many people, and a lot of love and support, and everyone has the same outlook on her, that she was sweet, she was loving, she was giving. And one thing I will say, that she loved her kids and her grandkids. She was a great mother, and great daughter as well, and sister, because she loved her mother, and him and her, they take care of their mother, and she is so sweet. So she will be very missed, and this tragic situation, it really did bring out a lot of outpours and tears in the community. So I just would hope that everyone keep Alexa's family and my nephew and all of us in your prayers, and because we're going to need it, and this will not change overnight, but hopefully, you know, we will be able to move forward and keep her in our memories and just cherish her, and because no one has nothing bad to say about her, and we're going to love her dearly and miss her.
Co-workers and community members echoed similar sentiments in interviews conducted in the days following the shooting. Following her death, a GoFundMe campaign was established to support Hill's family with funeral costs and related expenses. According to Muskogee County Coroner Buddy Bryan, the sequence began just before 10 a.m. on Tuesday, June 23rd. A man entered the Dollar General store and approached Hill's checkout counter to purchase a package of Hamburger buns, which totaled $1.58. He paid with 2 crumpled $1 bills. As Hill worked to straighten out the bills at the register, the man reportedly stepped to the side, drew a handgun, and shot her. Officials have not released the number of shots fired or the exact caliber of weapon used in official statements reviewed for this report. The shooter fled the store on foot immediately after the shooting. Emergency responders were called to the scene, and Hill was pronounced dead at approximately 10:45 a.m. by the Muskogee County Deputy Coroner. This places the time between the shooting and the pronouncement of death at under an hour, though the exact time of the shooting itself, relative to the 10:45 a.m. pronouncement, has not been specified beyond just after 10 a.m. Columbus Police Department, CPD officers responded to the store and began a search for the suspect, who had already left the area on foot or by other means not specified in official reporting. Approximately 3 hours after the shooting at the Dollar General, at around 11:40 a.m., CPD officers located a man matching the suspect's description in a parking lot in the 3800 block of Baker Plaza Drive, near the site of the former Muskogee Elementary School. According to a press release from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, officers gave the suspect verbal commands upon locating him. He did not comply with those commands. Officers then deployed a police K-9, later identified as K-9 Havoc, to assist in the apprehension. At that point, according to the GBI, the suspect produced a handgun and fired at the K-9 officer, striking the dog. He then continued to point the weapon at the responding officers. Officers returned fire, striking the suspect multiple times. He was pronounced dead at the scene at 1:16 p.m. During this exchange, one Columbus police officer was also shot. Both the officer and K9 Havoc sustained injuries described by police as non-life-threatening. The officer has since been treated and is expected to make a full recovery. K9 Havoc was reported to be in stable condition, but was expected to require surgery. Columbus Police Chief Stoney Mathis made public remarks following the second shooting, delivering a pointed message aimed at anyone who might target Columbus police officers, stating that lethal force would be met with lethal force by his department. This statement drew national attention and was widely circulated on social media in the days following the incident. Police also stated publicly that there was no ongoing threat to the public following the suspect's death. The suspect was initially identified by authorities as Jerome Willis, age 33. Some early news reports used a slightly different spelling of his name before outlets issued corrections. His full name was later confirmed through Georgia Department of Corrections, GDC records, as Jerome Markey Willis, sometimes also reported as Jerome Markey Willis in secondary reporting, born in 1993. Georgia Department of Corrections records, reviewed and reported on by local media following the shooting, show that Willis had an extensive criminal history in Muscogee County dating back more than a decade. Key elements of that record include a 2007 conviction when Willis was a juvenile for robbery in Muscogee County. He was sentenced to 20 years with 10 years to serve in custody. Additional convictions over the following years for terroristic threats, simple assault, and obstruction of law enforcement officers. Charges in his record involving firearms and drug possession. A pattern of repeated incarceration and release dating back to at least 2010, indicating Willis had cycled in and out of Georgia correctional facilities multiple times over roughly 15 years. Perhaps the most significant detail to emerge in the days following the shooting was the timing of Willis's most recent release from custody. GDC records indicate Willis had most recently been held at Dooley State Prison and was released on May 21, 2026, meaning he had been out of prison for approximately 1 month at the time of the Dollar General shooting. Despite the extensive criminal record, investigators and family members have both stated that Willis and Hill had no prior relationship or connection. This has been confirmed by Hill's brother directly and has not been contradicted by any official statement from police or the GBI. As of the most recent reporting reviewed for this report, no motive for the shooting has been publicly released by investigators. In Georgia, when a law enforcement officer is involved in a shooting, whether the officer fires a weapon, is fired upon, or both, it is standard procedure for an outside agency, typically the GBI, to conduct an independent investigation into the incident. This practice exists to separate the agency whose officers were involved, in this case the Columbus Police Department, from the entity conducting the investigation, in order to maintain public confidence in the impartiality of the findings. The GBI confirmed in a press release dated June 24, 2026, that its agents were investigating the officer-involved shooting at the request of the Columbus Police Department. This is a routine and expected step anytime officers use deadly force, regardless of the specific circumstances. It is important to distinguish between two separate matters in this case: the killing of Alexis Hill, a homicide committed by Willis. Because Willis died at the scene of the second shooting, no criminal prosecution will occur for this act, as there is no surviving defendant to charge or try. The shooting of Willis by police, an officer-involved shooting, which by Georgia procedure requires independent review, regardless of how justified it may appear based on preliminary facts. This is the portion of the case still formally under investigation by the GBI. Per standard procedure for officer-involved shootings in Georgia, Willis's body was transported to the GBI crime lab for an autopsy. Results of that autopsy had not been publicly released as of the most recent reporting reviewed for this report. As of the most recent update available, the GBI's press release describes the investigation as active and ongoing, with a request for anyone with relevant information to contact the GBI's Regional Investigative Office in Columbus or submit information anonymously through the agency's tip line. Dollar General issued a statement following Hill's death, expressing condolences to her family and co-workers. The company confirmed it had been in direct contact with Hill's family to offer support, that the specific store location was closed following the incident, and that grief counselors were made available to employees in the area. The company also stated it was cooperating with the ongoing law enforcement investigation. Local clergy and community members spoke publicly about Hill's death in the days that followed. One local pastor, in comments to a Columbus television station, described the emotional impact of the loss on the broader community, framing it in terms of the loss felt by parents and families generally. Co-workers and acquaintances described Hill in interviews as personable and hard-working, consistent with the general characterization offered by her family. The case drew significant national media attention, in part because of the specific and seemingly minor nature of the transaction that preceded the shooting: a $1.58 purchase of Hamburger Buns, which many outlets highlighted directly in their headlines. The case was also amplified by the follow-on shooting involving police and a canine officer just hours later, as well as by Police Chief Stoney Mathis's public remarks regarding officers being targeted. As of the most recent available reporting, several elements of the case remain unconfirmed or unreleased by authorities. Motive. No motive for the shooting has been publicly disclosed by police or the GBI. Family members have ruled out any prior relationship or dispute between Hill and Willis, but the underlying reason for the attack has not been explained. Autopsy results. The results of Willis's autopsy, conducted at the GBI Crime Lab, have not been made public in the sources reviewed for this report. Final GBI findings. The GBI's independent review of the officer-involved shooting was still active and ongoing as of the most recent update, meaning a final determination on the shooting's justification had not yet been formally released. Weapon details, specific details about the firearm used by Willis, including how he obtained it given his status as a convicted felon, have not been disclosed in available reporting. This case involves two connected but legally distinct incidents on the same day. The homicide of Dollar General store manager Alexis Hill during what began as a routine retail transaction, and the fatal shooting of the suspect Jerome Willis by Columbus police officers roughly 3 hours later, after he allegedly fired on a police K9 and pointed his weapon at officers. Willis had an extensive criminal record spanning nearly 2 decades and had been out of prison for approximately 1 month at the time of the shooting. No relationship between Hill and Willis has been established, and no motive has been publicly released. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation continues to review the officer-involved shooting as a matter of standard procedure, while the underlying homicide investigation is effectively closed due to the suspect's death. Dollar General has confirmed cooperation with the investigation, and the affected store was closed in the immediate aftermath, with grief counseling made available to staff. Thanks for watching. Did you find this case informative? If you want more true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.